Good evening, everyone. You are listening to Coffee Talk with Samantha and Paul. I'm Samantha Gross, and I have my co-host Paul Oppenheim with me. Hi, Paul.
Hey there, Sam. How are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you, Paul?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good. How's the weather in
Great.
beautiful California?
It's a nice, kind of a balmy 78 degrees right now. Not a cloud in the sky. It's pretty much continuing our endless summer we seem to have. So
Endless summer. Wow, Paul. California
Right.
is really nice out there this time of the year. It's 7 o'clock here in Ohio, and
Yep.
it's getting, I'd say it's about 49 degrees.
Yep.
And it's getting chilly. It's fall. The leaves are turning. I'll have to take pictures and post them.
Very nice.
Very nice leaves.
Say a few first. Actually, we're having some major fires. Not in my area, but
I heard about the fires. I heard about
so,
all that in that windstorm that you guys had when we were talking a couple nights ago, Paul. You were driving through the wind.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, I had a lot. It was like kind of a dust storm, debris things, just all this stuff just hit my windshield. That was not fun. But yeah, northern Los Angeles is kind of getting hit with the fires. It comes to the Silmar area, and I know they're trying to contain it as best they can. But yeah, it's
so prayers for California right now. Prayers for Los Angeles.
It's people keep saying we don't have any seasons here, but we actually do have 4 seasons. We have summer, we have fire, we have earthquake, and mudslide. So those are our 4 seasons.
Those are the 4 seasons, yeah.
Right, and so we're somewhere I guess the fire season here.
The fire season.
Yeah.
It's a constant change, isn't it?
It's weird, yeah, and it's not necessarily. And we always check to see if it was arson. They said it was an accidental thing that happened this time. It wasn't natural this time. It was
someone accidentally stupidly put something on fire.
It was an oops, but it was an awful oops.
A big oops.
Yeah, it was a pretty awful oops. So,
yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's never ending, is it?
No.
Well, speaking of never ending, Paul, let's talk tonight about let's first get into, before we get into signs and wonders, let's get into how history repeats itself and why God makes the world go round and round, but history and time come back to be found. So I was noticing, the reason I noticed that history repeated itself, and I noticed what ended yesterday, in the way I'm even thinking about this, is yesterday, my son, he plays a game called Fortnite. And Fortnite is a big game. Fortnite is made by Epic Games, and it is an online PlayStation, it's an online Xbox, it's an online game that people can play live with friends. Well, there's been so much controversy over Fortnite. Parents want to sue the game because kids are addicted. Parents spend thousands of dollars on buying these characters' clothes for Fortnite, and the kids want to constantly play Fortnite. Well, last night, Fortnite goes into seasons. Speaking of our seasons, they go into seasons and they have events. Well, yesterday, after event 11 called The End, Fortnite went into a black hole. The game went into a black hole, and it normally, after the event happens, it will come back up. But it went into the black hole, and that's where it's still sitting. Rumor has it is that they're making Fortnite Chapter 2 right now, and that's why it's in the black hole. Some rumors are having it that it's not going to come back. That it's done with, and it's...
For those of our listeners who might be unfamiliar with the term black hole, can you give us
a black hole? Fortnite is supposedly like an Earth, and the black hole, this Earth, Mars land mass, as they call it, this land that they play on, went into outer space. And it just started flying into space, and the whole screens went dark. Fortnite, Epic Games took down their Twitter account. They took down their Instagram account. They took Fortnite off LinkedIn. It went black. And they put up a picture of a black hole in the hole in the world.
Okay.
And so now numbers are coming up. They're showing numbers on the television screens. and someone tweeted out that they're coming out with Fortnite Chapter 2. But it said this was the end. There were rumors that people bought it. It ended. It was done. But my son, he's a big-time gamer. He believes that this game is coming back. It's Chapter 2. That they're calling it. And someone leaked it on YouTube. And they think that Fortnite's coming back with Chapter 2. Well, anyways, I was thinking about that today. How history is always repeating itself. And how the pendulum swings. Because of the fact that something will go away for so long and then it comes back.
Yep.
And
sometimes that happens. Yep.
And I think, to me, that's like the world spinning on axis. You know how we go round and round, and how it says, where does it say in the Bible that sometimes God, he changes things for seasons?
Right.
But sometimes the harvest comes back to that same season again.
Yeah, or he uses the term also, a little more filthy sounding, but he says like the dog returns to its filth or returns to its mud, or whatever the pig returns to wallow in its mud or something.
Yes.
It can be used as in a negative light as well.
Okay.
Perhaps at one time I think we might have discussed this before too, where you saw the light or you decided to make a change in your way of living or whatnot.
Oh, we talked about this last Coffee Talk.
Right, but then it could call you back.
Right.
Whatever it is, whatever that habit is, it calls you back. So that's that's also can be seen as a way of history repeating itself. It's not just history, but in our own lives, and it's not like a.
Right, I see history repeating itself like. Music genres come back. They remake songs. Movies are being remade.
Oh gosh, yeah, they're
stuff like that.
They're constantly doing movie reboots. That's
the
funny.
Reboots of things, and I often think to myself, is our human race getting so not creative that we can't think of something new, that we have to use old things? Why can't they come up with something more new and creative that nobody's ever done before?
It is interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, well, I always thought about that way, like in the music industry.
Yes.
It seems that something just, and I don't know if it's just me or what, but something happened like after somewhere like by like the mid '90s, or maybe even a little bit earlier than that. It's like it was like the beginning of the end of music, as far as any semblance of real artistry, and now it's just pure industry only, not artistry, but industry.
Yes, it's very much industry.
And it's simply just for the sake of money making only. It seems to me, at least. It's like if I ever, just being a keyboardist myself, if I ever hear a song that I could easily play myself,
mm-hmm.
I always think like upon first hearing it, I'm thinking, well, shoot, it's like, gosh, if I could do this, it's like, what? It's almost like for me, it's like I admire the artists that perform something that would be like darn near impossible for me to play.
Right.
And that those of us have my deepest respect, and if I hear something, just a very simple tune, that somehow that's now what's considered mainstream, it just seems like there's so little effort that goes into it, and people I guess. I'm not sure people are even still wowed by that or not. I was kind of chatting with my daughter, and they're like, no, we know it's pretty much garbage, Dad. We pretty much there's a lot of us who just go back to music of the 90s, 80s, and 70s, and 60s,
yes.
Because it's like, even the kids do when they're like 18 years old, and they agree with that. They're like, yeah, there's some good new. Seems to be going, in my opinion, at least.
Right. Yeah, I often wonder, Paul, like with like genres.
Yeah.
It says that there is a quote, and the original writer was George Santana, And it reads, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And according to this, he's saying that it repeats itself. Well, I've noticed, even with, like, clothing now, like, the generation...
Sam, I'm sorry, you're really, really disconnecting. It's your voice is very garbled. Can you move your microphone closer or something? Or
is that better?
Get to a better area?
Better?
That's much better. Yeah,
okay, sorry. I'm sorry about that, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah. Wherever you are right now, just don't move.
Don't move. Anyways, Ecclesiastes, you know?
Oh, Ecclesiastes?
Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, 9 through 18.
Right.
History merely repeats itself. It all has been done. History merely repeats itself. It all has been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. Sometimes people say, here is what has become of me, those that will become of me again. That's what the Bible says about history repeating itself.
But bear in mind, that's from King Solomon's perspective, although he was probably one of the wisest people on earth.
Right, but it's still in the Bible.
Ecclesiastes is kind of what I would kind of refer to that as King Solomon's depressed years.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
As you kind of read through it, you'll kind of see where he's just like, life is meaningless. All this is meaningless. I mean, not that life is meaningless, but he says like everything that we do, all of our labor, the fruits of our labor is meaningless. He has a tendency to
it goes down to say that he devoted himself for searching, explored by wisdom, meaningless.
Right.
Wrong cannot be recovered. Look, but I'm any wiser, so I set out to learn everything from wisdom, and that the wisdom increases to only great sorrow. But I'm just saying that even in the Bible times, people were saying that history will repeat itself. So that goes to show, back in King Solomon's time, history was repeating itself even back then. So if that's the case, if we do it in past, present, and future, what does God mean by this? Why does God want history to repeat itself? And why do sometimes that is known as a generational curse?
Not certain if it wants is the term. In other words, does God want it to repeat itself? Perhaps it's God merely allows it to repeat itself.
Why does God allow history to repeat itself for negative things? And you know how some pastors say you got to break the generational curses. Why do you think that is, Paul?
I mean, I think it kind of boils down to God's infinite patience.
Thinking of what?
Infinite patience.
Infinite patience, okay.
With humankind.
Go deeper and further.
Just kind of my take on it, because it's like why does he allow all this? Everybody keeps saying like, all the non-believers can say, well, there's such a good God, always allows such evil things to happen in the world, and it's like, well, you can take that back and say like, well, why is God allowing you, the atheist, to continue to exist? Why doesn't he snuff the air out of your lungs for choosing to not believe in him? And I think, like I said, he's patient with all of us.
Right.
Including even the evil that is in this world, because God is even beyond all of that. And with as far as things repeating themselves or whatnot, it's like, do some people learn in the repetition, maybe not the first or the second time? Maybe there's several tests you have to go through, or what I call them tests.
Right.
Or sometimes, will it repeat itself? Yeah, it probably will. Now, maybe you might advance a little bit in your repetition. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or maybe it might be 3 steps forward and only 2 steps back. So you're still sort of kind of moving forward, even though there's a bit of repetition. It might not be a complete circle. It might be more of a kind of a spiral, and hopefully you're spiraling up.
Upward, right.
Hopefully.
I think that my own personal belief, let's take, for example, the Earth spinning on the axis. Say you start north, and Earth goes north to right? It spins on to the right. So say you start north, and you go to the right, like a clock. You go clockwise. The Earth goes clockwise around the solar system, and here we go. We're spinning around and around and around. I feel that God allows certain things and certain people to come in your life once, And then during that season, you start to get to understand that person's thing or whatnot. And then in the next season, that thing may go away for a while.
Sure.
But then again, if it does come back, you learn to appreciate him, her, it, whatever it is, even more after God has put you through the test of not having that.
Right.
And then or the test of being faithful.
It could be the opposite. It could be the test of being exposed to it.
It could be the test of being exposed to it.
And then you're relieved of it, and then it comes back again. But then perhaps when it comes back again, you're more prepared for when it comes back.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
But it can also be the other thing, like you don't know what you've got till it's gone.
You don't know what you got till it's gone, or God's testing you,
that
Paul.
Where you had something good, you didn't know it was good until it's taken away from you,
and then
you're like, oh gosh.
If I could only have it back one more time.
Right, and then hopefully if you're blessed enough to have it come back, or maybe not the exact same way, but slightly different, but you recognize it as another chance, if you want to call it a chance.
A chance.
Now you'll probably cherish it.
Yes, you would cherish it, because they say you don't know what you have until it's gone, and if it comes back, you better hold on.
Right.
Right?
So that could be a part of the allowing something to repeat itself as well.
And I also think it's a learning curve.
Yes.
I think, like, for example, like if, someone walks away. Say you get in an argument with somebody.
Right.
A friend. You have a friend.
Yep.
And you and your friend have a disagreement, and you stop talking for 5-10 years. And then somehow your paths cross again. And you can either do one of two things, flight or fight.
I'm losing you again.
Can you hear me? Sorry. Is that where, are you driving, Paul? Maybe that's why.
That could be. Maybe I was passing from one cell to the next.
Probably. But anyways, what I was saying is that I just basically think that history will repeat itself in everything that happens. And you can either choose to have that same reaction, or you can choose to be prepared, like you said, for it and do it the godly way. Or even we can go deeper, our generations after us could learn from us. Sure. And when it happens to them, they would know how to choose to do it their way, the godly way, or the way we did it.
Yeah. You can do that too. So
it's all repeating itself. But so that's what I'm taking on history repeats itself. So I think back with Fortnite, I think history is going to repeat itself. They're going to bring out Fortnite Chapter 2. But on signs and wonders, I also wanted to get into the topic of signs and wonders real quick, Paul, with our listeners. Signs and wonders? Okay. For example, I was going to use the example about the house, but I don't want to get into that house situation right now.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about, like, signs and wonders from God.
Okay.
The wonders of the world. Okay? You see the 7 wonders. Right?
Yeah. Yes, there's different types of 7 wonders.
There's different wonders of the world, right?
Yeah, there's like natural wonders. There's
the natural wonders.
Human-made wonders. There's different types of wonders, but okay.
What do you think God means by these wonders? Like, say when he brings on, say not a natural disaster, but say something beautiful occurs. For every natural disaster, like even every hurricane, God brings something beautiful afterwards.
Well,
why do you think why do you think God gives us signs of what is to come? Is it because that's what the Bible says? Or is it because he wants us to be prepared spiritually?
Well, it could be a little from column A, a little from column B, and just also we're very easily led astray. Mm-hmm. And for those of us, I mean, like I've said before, I think Einstein said this once. He said, like, there's 2 types of men in this world. One believes that nothing is a miracle. The other one believes that everything is a miracle.
Yes.
And like I said, I was kind of like the first man, and I'm becoming the second man.
Okay.
We start recognizing everything is nothing shy of a miracle. And so for me, it's not too difficult to see things as wonders. There's times I'm just, especially I guess as an engineer and building things, and I marvel at creation anyway.
I do too.
I mean, I do. I think most people, don't, or they just don't think about it. I don't think it's important. Perhaps it's not even important to them. And so, if creation and that which is around you, and whatever, is fairly meaningless to you, or you just accept it as whatever, what we call the norm or something, then it's almost like you need something to really shake things up to get your attention. And perhaps you can put those as signs and wonders. I think ever so often perhaps God chooses to do that, to present us with something that will make us really maybe contemplate life or what's happening, or kind of shake things up, because he has been known to do that.
Yes.
Whether it be allow a natural disaster to take place, whether he actually throws one at us, I don't think that's his MO, but I think he allows certain things to happen, because inevitably there is some good to be found in these disasters.
Yes.
At least in some cases it brings people together, and sometimes it brings out the good people, and others it kind of brings out the bad people too. Fire breaks out or whatever, and then you'll find there's a lot of looting involved and things like that. And there was an analogy where that Christ used something where he said, a farmer planted a crop in his field or whatever, and then an evil beast or something came in, or an evil being came into the world, or came into the land and sowed weeds amongst that, or something like that. And they said it was then that the farmers' helpers, were saying well, should we just pull up the weeds? No, not yet, because at the moment we cannot distinguish between the weeds and the wheat, or whatever the crop might be. You might pull up you might pull up some of the wheat with the weeds. So let's wait till harvest time, where there'll be absolutely no misunderstanding or no mistaking which ones were the undesirable, weeds and the desirable wheat. And I think it's kind of like that, where, okay, perhaps he's referring to us humans, as when we come into a fruition, if you will, where, there's times where we all kind of vacillate back and forth between, lead godly lives or sinful lives. And then part of what will kind of awaken us, and I've talked about this before, it could be something as huge as let's say a natural disaster, and does it bring out the good in you? Does it make you wish to, oh my gosh, help someone else who's in trouble or hurting or whatnot? Or you say, hey, now I have an opportunity to rob that convenience store I always wanted because it's on fire at the moment. You start. Yeah, that kind of points out who you are, and they or something small, like what I've said before. If you ever bump shoulders in a crowded street with someone, what's the first thing pops in your mouth? You say, "Oh gosh, I'm sorry," or do you say, "Hey, watch it"? Okay, who's the person that's inside you?
Right, exactly.
I think a lot of these things that I think God allows is to
challenge
bring out who's the real you, that's in you.
I think what Hebrews says in Hebrews 10:24 and 25, Paul. I know this. I've studied Hebrews, and we talk about challenging ourselves. And in the book of Hebrews, and I'm looking it up in the Bible because I don't know word for word. I know what it's basically about, but I don't know word for word. But 10:24 and 25 says, "And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglect to meet together as in habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more you say you see the day drawing near, for you shall be together into something." I can't pronounce the word. I feel that God lets things happen to stir people up.
Yeah, but also
challenge.
A lot of that there too. I think you might be kind of pointing at the concept of a team effort.
Yes, so a team effort, at work.
yeah, you help your brother, you help your sister. You know, it's like if they're kind of lagging behind or they're having problems, you help lift them up. You kind of help pull them in the right direction. It's the concept of when Christ said something like, you will all have your crosses to bear, but I never once said you have to bear your cross alone.
Yes, no one ever said you have to do that.
Yeah,
right?
That's why I blessed you with so many brothers and sisters, that you would help each other carry each other's crosses. And many hands make light work, and if you have enough hands, it's hardly a burden. And
right,
I think that's kind of where we're going with the concept of a team effort.
Right. Yeah, and that relates to work. I know a lot of our listeners, Paul, that listen to us come off of our LinkedIn pages. And LinkedIn, as you know, is that professional networking site. I almost said professional dating site. Well, the way some people act it is. But it's a professional networking site.
Professional dating. I never knew those.
There's a professional dating.
Like
I'm the professional dater.
Dating. Okay.
Yeah, anyways.
All right.
I think that even at work, this brings up the topic for our next Coffee Talk, Paul. How to incorporate the Bible into habits at work.
Sure.
So we can Coffee Talk on that in our next show. And maybe we could get a guest on of how they could incorporate the Bible into work. I haven't reached out to Heather again about hers. I got to go into her coffee house. She owns a coffee house, and just talk to her about being on the podcast.
Awesome.
And she didn't want anything to deal with religion, which is fine, or Christianity, but we can talk about work and whatever.
Yeah.
But I would love, listeners and Paul and everybody else, I would love to get a guest on the show that could talk about how we can incorporate the Bible into our daily routine at work. I think we should listen to that.
That'd be interesting.
If we can get a CEO. So here we go.
Step up to the mic. That'd be nice.
Yeah. So calling all CEOs, chief executive officers, chief fiscal officers, chief financials, chief anybody that's in the executive realm on LinkedIn. How would you incorporate the Bible into leadership of the day-to-day routine at work?
There's a challenge.
There's a challenge. The challenge of the week. Let's find somebody that would want to take the challenge and tell us next week as to how they can incorporate the Bible into leadership in the workplace.
Sounds good to me.
So if anybody would like to do this challenge, please drop your comment on our page or hit me up on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it. Hit Paul Oppenheim on LinkedIn and our YouTube page. And that's our Coffee Talk for this week. Paul, I will talk to you later, and let's see if we can get somebody on for next week's challenge.
Sounds exciting. We'll catch up then.
Okay, you all have a great evening. Thank you for listening to Coffee Talk with Samantha and Paul. And Paul and I will catch you up later. Again, this is Samantha Gross and Paul Oppenheim. You have a great night, everybody.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye-bye.